Peace to the family out there. Peace to the family. We should be live right now.
Long since he's gonna be talking about hoodies.
I'm with a living legend tonight. I'm about to introduce the brother, but before we do, as usual, let me get to a brief commercial. Okay, I see y'all coming in the room now. Yeah, let me get to a brief commercial. We got a great show for everybody tonight. We'll be back in about 30. I only got one commercial. We'll be back in about 30 seconds, y'all. All right. Oh, and this commercial is featuring this gentleman right here. So we'll talk about that too.
The legendary Professor James Smalls come to Atlanta, Georgia for 2 days. April 6th and April 7th. You don't want to miss it. He's doing a public and a private event. Text me right now at 347-496-1022. That's 347-496-1022. The legendary Professor James Smalls, as you've seen him on Hidden Colors and all the rest of the documentaries. Make sure you go to my Linktree at Linktree/King Simon the Numerator. Professor James Smalls in Atlanta, April 6th and April 7th.
All right. Without further ado, so welcome back to the platform, Professor James Small. Welcome back, my brother.
Thank you, brother.
So you're gonna be in Atlanta, huh?
Yeah, I'm gonna come down check you out since you moved down there. I want to see what's up. See what's going on.
A 2-day event. Make sure y'all get in contact with King Simon for that. If y'all in the Atlanta area, make sure y'all come check my brother, Professor James Small, one of the greatest elders out there that's doing his thing, doing it for so long. The King, I like that hat, man. I like that hat.
Yeah, this hat is done by a beautiful young sister. And she also gave me a hoodie that says the King. I go like, all right.
Oh, the matching hoodie. You got the matching hoodie with that.
Got the match hoodie.
Oh, awesome. So listen, so Professor James Small. So this thing is very interesting. First of all, I had a conversation with you. I told you that I was just looking at some of your videos on YouTube, and your most viral videos, you have some shorts and some videos talking about Tupac and Biggie. In particular, a conversation you had with Tupac 2 days before he died, and him saying that him and Biggie we're going to start a black distribution company.
Right.
So saying that to say, fast forward, it's 2024 now. Black artists have been going through this and talking about this for so long. All of our greats, all of our icons, Michael Jackson, Prince, Sam Cooke, the latest one of the biggest artists in the world, beyond platinum artist Kanye West, has decided to release his newest album, Vultures 2, on his own website because he said he's tired of getting raped by the streaming services. Streaming services are now in bed with the record labels. They have found a way to join forces and rape artists even more than they were being raped when there was physical CDs. So now artists are doing even worse than they were before. Sad stuff, Professor Small. And want to talk to you about, let's start out with this conversation because I talked to brother. Brother was like, man, Professor Small gotta be lying, man. Tupac ain't say that because I ain't hear Tupac tell nobody else that. Where he come up with this information? So give me some details. Where were you? Where was Pac? Were you on the phone? Were you in person? What exactly happened with this conversation with you and Pac right before he made a transition?
So you got to walk it back because most people who say Professor Small, they don't know who I am. A brother named Lumumba Shakur.
Okay.
And a brother named Zaid Shakur.
Patrice Lumumba.
No, Lumumba Shakur.
Okay. Shakur.
Who was married to Afeni Shakur.
Okay.
The mother of Tupac Shakur. They got married in the same bedroom of Malcolm X's sister that I got married in. They were in Malcolm X's organization, OAAU, before joining the Black Panther Party. After Malcolm's death, I became the imam over Malcolm's mosque, the Muslim Mosque, Inc. And I was an officer in the OAAU and liaison with the Black Panther Party and the Shakur family. So people understand lineage.
Break it down.
Zaid Shakur, the youngest of the Shakur brothers, who got killed on the turnpike, was the husband of Asada Shakur. So I saw Asada just before she moved to Cuba. So y'all can understand that's after she had left, the place. So we had a relationship as a family relationship. I'm old enough to be here to have this conversation. Most people in our group is gone.
Right.
Tupac had a close relationship with one of my children, a couple of my children. They were like this.
Wow.
When Tupac got shot the first time, I got the first call after one of my daughters got the call. When his mother and family got to the hospital, I was already there.
Wow.
With the Sons of Africa.
Did not know that.
Trying to cover down on him because we thought the hit came from the cops in the South that he had to run in with in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And one of them was in the city that night and at that hospital. So what do you want? So people want to have a sense of why I had a conversation with Tupac. There was a relationship long before the conversation I had a couple of nights before he died. He called the house that day. I was in my bedroom actually when one of my kids came upstairs and says, "Daddy, Pac's on the phone. He wanted to talk to you." I know he wanted to talk to me because I was pissed off with him about something. And I sent word to Sister Soldier, through Sister Soldier, to let him know I was pissed off with him.
What was you pissed off with him about?
That's private business.
Okay.
That's family business. Okay. But like youngsters, I was back and forth with youngster stuff and his behavior. And I was like trying to call him on some stuff, right?
Right.
His physician, when he disappeared out the hospital, y'all remember that?
Yeah, he checked himself out.
But this say he disappeared out the hospital.
Okay.
Right? Okay. And everybody was looking for him. Well, his physician was also my personal physician, my college comrade, and someone I used to date earlier in life. That's how close all of us was up in there. All right. So if folks don't understand, why was he on the phone with him?
You just explained it.
I just gave you all as much of it as I can give, right? And so that night when one of the kids asked me to come and said, "Dad, Pac want to talk to you about something," and I got on the phone and he said, "Hey, Professor, we had the kind of warm up conversation. How you doing? How I'm doing? Then he said, look, he went straight to it. He says, I'm going to be in New York next week. I need to sit down with you. I said, what's up? He said, me and Biggie. He said, this whole thing about me and Biggie being at war. He said, that's not us. He said, we ain't at war. He said, these publications and newspapers and these other people is trying to make us at war. But he said, me and Biggie, we working on a big project. I said, what y'all working on? He said, we want to take control. We want to take control of distribution of rap music. That was his exact words.
Wow. Exact words.
That's his exact words.
Wow.
I said, brother, you're dealing with organized crime, and I named the ethnic nations that control it, right? He said, we know that. I said, well, you and Biggie ain't big enough to do this. He said, we're not alone. He said, we're organizing other brothers.
So, Professor, this is before he got with Suge Knight.
No, he's with Suge. This is 2 days before he's killed.
Oh, this is 2 days. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm thinking about because you just was talking about the first shooting. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the first shooting was for Suge. That's when Suge came in and got him out of jail and did that whole thing.
Right.
But I'm talking about this call that I got is he's in Vegas for the fights.
For the Tyson fight, right.
Right. And so he calls while he's in Vegas. And he tells me about this distribution thing. And I tell him how dangerous the whole thing is.
Yeah.
And he said that it wasn't just going to be him and Biggie, that they were organizing with other young rappers. Indeed, there was a couple of other rappers. I think one of them was his cousin who was killed in New Jersey that very next week. 2 brothers taken out in Jersey. I forgot their names. And I meant to ask my youngest son the names of the 2 brothers, but y'all can find that out. Because they were family. And the 2 young brothers that were killed in Jersey was pretty up in the industry also. See, we let the demon rats run the music industry. We let these people just scare us to death. Right? And so that he was very clear that they wanted to take over distribution. That makes sense. You're the biggest thing in the rap industry at this time, the hip hop industry. And somebody else is making all the money. If you're any kind of businessman, you're going to try to figure out how I'm going to make some of that money.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're in an industry that's controlled by 4 or 5 different companies, when just 3 of them control 68%, and the other 2 got between 19 and 27%, they're not going to cut you in. But let's go back to the first brother, where we can see that the industry moved on, and a lot of people think it's cost him his life also.
Mm-hmm.
He was shot to death too. And his name is Sam Cooke.
Mm-hmm.
Many of the young people don't know Sam Cooke. He died at 33 years old in the year 1964. I remember I just gotten into the Navy a week before he was shot, and I was in the barracks when the word came he was killed, and the young white men were applauding him. And we had some throwdowns that night.
Wow.
Wow. And I'll never forget that night, because all of the shore patrol and the policemen that come in the barracks, because we were warned over the death of Sam Cooke.
Yeah. Wow.
But in 1959, Sam Cooke established his own publishing company.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a big deal, because he did it here in America. Mm-hmm. Nat King Cole, who was having the same issues Tupac was having, right? Mm-hmm. And trying to get some money out of his being able to perform and sing, established his record company in Mexico. Mm. Shortly after him, James Brown, trying to do the same thing, established his company in 3 places: Chicago, New York, and Augusta, in 3 small pieces. Mm. He would later pull it together and put his son, who had just gotten, this is James Brown now, who had just gotten his master's degree, over the company. Mm-hmm. 2 months later, his son got killed on the Jersey Turnpike when he got rear-ended by a tractor-trailer truck. Shit. Hello? You don't listen to the bouncing ball, because sometimes we don't want to, study history. History will erase the mystery.
Yeah.
You got to know history to erase the mystery, to see what's really going on around you. And so, come back to Sam, because Sam Cooke is so important. He was one of the first artists that was given an advance of about what is account to $1.3 million today by RCA. Mm-hmm. That was big money back then, right? But Sam owned his own masters.
Right.
But when he came out with his own record label, that's when there was a problem. Mm. Because with his own record label, he could do his own distribution. Mm-hmm. Shortly after that, he was shot to death in Los Angeles. And to this day, no one is clear on what happened in that motel office where he was shot. I just wanted to bring that up to come back to Tupac. Yeah, tell people, yes, I talked to Tupac. To me, Tupac wasn't a famous rap artist. He was just a kid that was a friend of my kids. That's how I knew him. Mm-hmm. I wasn't into the music like that. Didn't know the music like that. I just knew these young people, and they were friends. Mm-hmm. And this was a young man who came from a family with whom I was very close friends and political comrades. So he had a special kind of hookup in that way. Mm-hmm. And so he was serious about this. He was clear about this. He was coming to me to get political advice on how to move forward with this. But there's something else that we have to go back to.
Please.
You remember James and Tume?
Yes.
One day James and I bumped into each other, but we knew each other, Mm-hmm. But James introduced me to something I'd never heard about before. It was called the Columbia Study. It was in 1972 that Columbia Records commissioned a study called the Study of Soul Music Environment, a feasibility and a marketing strategy study that was carried out by the business school at Harvard University. Mm-hmm. And in this study, they kept it pretty much a secret for 50 years. Shit. It was just published recently in a book. There's a couple of books I want to recommend that people get. So I hope y'all got your pains, but you can talk about it later.
Yeah.
one of the books is called, I want to make sure I get that right.
Somebody write this down in the chat. Somebody write this in the chat.
Yeah. One of it is called Power 101.
Mm-hmm.
The Harvard Report on Soul Music and the American Dream.
Mm-hmm.
The second one is called The Anatomy of the Record Industry, or of a record industry company.
Mm-hmm.
But it's dealing with that same report from Harvard, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that one is Robert Brown, there's a third one, Robert Brown, The Profitable Study of Exploitation of the Black Music Market. Mm. Now, these are the big record companies that's commissioned these studies. Right, it's really called How to Control the Black Folks in the Music Industry and Keep Them from Making Any Money.
Damn. Okay. Damn, Professor.
So, and then the big book, though, the one that published the whole report, is called The Study of the Soul Music Environment, the Harvard Report, censored by Dr. Logan Westbrook. Mm-hmm. Y'all got to get that book, because I'm going to get it, because you made me start looking all this stuff up, right? Now I got to get it. The Profitability and the Feasibility Study of the Exploitation of the Black Music Market. Mm-hmm. And what the Harvard Report, and this is what James had told me today, we bumped into each other on the street. I think we both was coming from an acupuncture thing. Mm-hmm. And he said, what the Harvard Report said is that you don't have to take their masses, give them the masses. Mm-hmm. You know, but you keep control of, what's that piece?
Publishing or?
Publishing. Yeah. Keep control of the publishing, and you control distribution. No matter how much money you give them, you will control them till the day they die. Because in that piece where RCA had given Sam Cooke nearly equivalent to $1 million plus today, they gave him his masters for 30 years. Because if he got for 30 years, it rolls back to us, and then it would be even bigger than it was when he was alive.
Right. Shit. Wow.
So that's what this industry is about.
Wow.
And so it's a multi-trillion-dollar industry now. But if you go back over the years, right? Who's making all that money? The poor young brothers. Most of them go in the industry, come out broke because they go in, don't know how the industry work. Somebody gave them a limo. You got all the fly stuff in the limo, all the champagne, the caviar, and everything. He gets to these 5 suites at the hotel. He gets to fly on these private jets. You don't know at the end of the day, somebody come in with a pad and say, "This is the bill." So all that money you thought you had made just went out the door before the check got handed to you to what was left over. Right? And you're looking up like, what's up? You know, and what's up? You just got taken. And that's why so many of the brothers in the industry today is poor, broke, especially the older brothers, no retirements, no insurance, can't take care of themselves. And Pac and them understood this, because one of the things, it was a short conversation, but one of the things he was concerned about was like, how are we going to take care of ourselves when we can no longer sing? We can no longer perform.
Right.
And he felt that distribution, if they could get control of distribution, this was the way to make the real money.
Right.
You know? And I remember, what's that brother name? Master P, the brother who was doing his own thing out of the car trunk. You know he got the visitation. Come on, we ain't gonna lie. We know he got the visitation. He said, you can do that, but you better not encourage nobody else to do that. Okay. He got the visit. I don't know the details of the visitation, but I know the industry. I've had children in this industry for the last 30 years.
You told me something about I think Teddy Riley one time in his group Blackstreet.
Yeah, and well, the same kind of thing. They wanted them, from what Teddy told me, to do rap music, but Teddy and them are rhythm and blues artists, and he said they weren't going to do rap music. They were going to stick to rhythm and blues. And they were informed that, well, if you don't do that, your stuff ain't going to leave the warehouse. Again, be back to that distribution thing.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So remember music, and I was looking up some stuff, because people don't understand what music is.
They don't.
Music, as far as scientists, anthropologists, and archaeologists can go back 40,000 years.
Yeah.
And all of it begins in Africa.
Yes.
So I was trying to find a little piece that I wanted to hit the young people up with.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
What music, you know.
While you look for that, Professor, let me ask you a quick question about music. We hear about how powerful music is. I'm just curious, do you think music, like we know our people, when I say our people, I mean the melanated man and woman across the world, how much music means to us. They say we are the rhythm of the planet. Do you think music is as influential to other groups as it is to black people?
Oh,
Just as
absolutely.
okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mm,
This is the piece that I was looking at.
mm,
And I asked the question, what effect does music have on the human mind?
mm.
And these are some of the answers I got back, and I got like, wow. Music can have a powerful effect on the human mind, stimulating all areas of the brain at the same time. Researchers suggest that music can improve mental alertness, improve mood, reduce anxiety, reduce blood pressure, reduce pain, improve quality, keep the brain young. It can help you to control fear, make you ready to fight, increase pleasure, increase feeling of well-being, increase blood flow to the brain regions that control emotions, improve memory. All of this has been proven in studies in terms of the effect on the human mind, but it can have the same negative effects. Though it can reduce stress, music has been proven to reduce stress, reduce pain and symptoms of depression, as well as improving cognitive and motor skills, spatial, temporal, and learning neurogenesis. You know, and so we think of music as just the thing that we enjoy, um, but music affects us in all kinds of ways. It's like a magnet. It just kind of grab you and pull you into it. So whatever message you put on the music gets imprinted in your subconscious and
Right.
affects your behavior. Music can make you act negatively.
Right.
Music can make you want to fight.
Right.
Music can make you get angry, depending on the kind of music you play.
Mm-hmm.
And so the people in the record industry, they've done these studies that have told them all of these things by major universities, the Princeton, the Harvard, the Cambridge, that have put out these studies through the years.
Mm-hmm.
And so they sit back and manipulate us. We think we just having fun. We love this particular artist. He just dress right, look like, sound right. But no, somebody has presented them to you.
Mm-hmm.
They've been presented to you as a product to influence your serotonin and your melatonin.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't even know it's being done.
Mm.
You don't even know it's being done. And then when you come to just, I think there was one thing, it's even in the Bible. This is deep. In the Bible, I forgot what chapter. I don't even want to go look at it, but they talk about you not only got to listen to the music in your soul, the Bible says you got to listen to the music in your mind.
Oh, yeah.
That's deep.
That
concern about music can go back that far.
It goes pretty far, Professor. You know, back in ancient times, I think ancient Greece or something like that, they would ban certain chords from being played. So you couldn't play certain chords or certain melodies. It was in front of people. Now, just looking back at it now, to ban a chord, that's wild. That's some wild
stuff. Think
of
it now. I think Bobby Hemming was the first one that dropped this on me because I didn't know what an octave was. I still don't quite know what an octave is. But you know Bobby Hemming. People always say Bobby is orbiting because he's out there. Yeah. He's a metaphysician and one of the better ones, him and Brother Phil Valentine. Yeah. And Bobby said, yeah, brother, we were at a conference in Detroit, ASCAC or something. And Bobby was telling me, he said, man, because he had some 33s and he had his turntable playing his music. I said, why you bring all that stuff from home, man, and setting up at your table, taking space? You could have just slip a disc. He said, no, man, in these new stuff, they've taken out 3 octaves. Woo! He says, there's certain things in the music, like you calling it chords, but I think that's the same thing as calling octaves, right? He's saying in the old music of the 60s and 70s and the 50s, there was something in there that allowed you to hear the music, feel the music, and be moved and stimulated almost physically by the music. Well, they took that one that made you feel and move. They took that out. Now you hear the music, but you're not being
feeling. Yeah.
You're not feeling that music. You know what I'm saying?
It's very hard. That's very true, Professor, because listening to music on a computer, on the phone, you can't hear the bass like that. Like you said, the octaves and things like that. There's certain low
It's
frequencies
taking them up.
that you can't hear because it's because of the headphones or the computer or even the CD. So yeah, Bobby would talk about vinyl a lot and the
You
importance
spoke
of
to the
vinyl.
vinyl.
Yeah.
So you know about this teaching then, because
Oh yeah, yeah, very
he's been
familiar.
on this for a minute.
Yeah,
And
very
so
familiar.
I started looking, I said, that makes sense. Because the music that made me when I was young, and I'm hanging out at Club 17 down in South Carolina on Highway 17 by the road or across from old Frank McKenzie's place. And one of those vinyl dropped at 45, I knew automatically to reach for Betty Ann. You know what I'm saying?
Ooh, yeah.
I didn't even have to think. I didn't have to know where she was in the club. Once I heard that song, I know just where to go. And then nobody else better know. They better not reach for her. Because for a small come and dance Betty Ann for that number. And there was music affects every aspect of the human psyche. Every aspect. It stimulates your serotonin. It stimulates your melatonin. Okay? And they've done studies on this stuff. The music industry have commissioned these studies. They know what they're doing. They know where to market, why to market, how to market, and to who to market based on these studies. They know where to market based on the political condition of that community versus the political condition of this community. They know what to sell to the impoverished community and what to sell to the middle class community. You know, they study this stuff. This is what they do. It's called business. This is America. But we're the one that have to be aware how business works.
Yeah.
Well, Pac and them had begun to learn how the business industry of music works. Now, some say he got killed just because of that fight. I was one who thought that the fight thing was staged just to set up a motive in case the killers was caught, who they were probably supposed to get caught that night, but they were slick enough to slip the dragnet. But I think he was hit for what he was doing in the music industry and not because of that fight in the lobby.
Let me ask you this, Professor. Do you think, since we're talking about the power of music and the frequencies and the octaves and the tones and the pitches, everything within within music, how it affects our overall being, do you think the man that made the song "Sexual Healing," do you think his death was you think that was a hit? And I'm referring to Marvin Gaye.
Yeah, brother.
Talk to me about it.
The myth of Motown is a myth too. You know, we give Motown space it don't deserve. It's a shame that most of the young artists in Motown died young. Nobody and on drugs. What was that all about?
Yeah.
I don't need demigods to make me feel good as a black man. I need truth and history. Get rid of the mystery. You know, I love Mary Wells, but you know, she died so young. But look at what she left for Motown. Look at the Temptations. Almost all of them died young.
Yeah.
You know, look at all of the guys. I mean, Smokey made it, and the guy who owned the company made it, and people who was at the top made it. But I had an incident that happened to me once. I'm gonna tell you this. People can hear for what they hear. Because I am who I am. And most of them don't know who I am. I'm riding on a bus from New York to California, 1968. Why am I riding on a bus? Because I'm packing some heat. Right? So I can't get on the airplane, even though you could carry your piece on the plane back in those days. But a young black man getting on the plane in the 60s, the way I was moving, I couldn't. So I'm packing heat and other stuff. I got him. So I'm taking the bus from New York to California. We get to just outside of Detroit. And I'd been told multiple times that I favored Marvin Gaye. I never saw it. But I guess the way I'm on my beard back then and my fro back then, but I had some hair, no hair now, but I had a nice slick fro back in the day. And so this guy sees me. I'm wearing a black leather jacket. I'm in the outfit. I'm suited and booted, right? And he thought I was Marvin Gaye. So I don't correct him, this white guy. Comes to take my hand and says how nice it is that we're now in business together. You hear what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm not in the industry then. I'm just into black power, black movement. But I was just curious. I don't identify myself to him as we stepped down off the bus that day. And I would learn later that at that same point that I'd meet that man, as I become more conscious, that's when the others bought out Motown. The other biggies in the industry, even though Motown was still moving as Motown, and we thought it was still a black thing, but it wasn't a black thing no more from 1968. And so the things we are talking about now, this controlling of soul music, this manipulating and controlling not only the music makers, but controlling the minds of the music hearers, those who are receiving the music.
Right.
Music, because when you're in control of distribution, that gives you the power and the money to be in control of the artist and what they come up with to be distributed.
Right. Yeah.
Like the occasions when certain people would cut records, they'd have to take it to certain companies, and those big boys would have to approve the lyrics, so they would send them back because you got to go do this over. You got to do a do-over. This is too black. You got to do a do-over. This ain't sexually graphic enough. No matter how musically wonderful the piece was.
Yeah, I've definitely heard of that. Telling artists to do it over, do it again, do it again.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting?
That we got to remember, these record companies are owned by human beings. These human beings belong to certain ethnic nations, and they have their own interests and attitudes towards the black nation at heart.
Indeed.
And the controlling the behavior of massive group of black people, music has been one of the primary tools for mind control in the black community, particularly in the United States of America. And I'll show you how powerful music is. Dr. King and them, they're sitting in a church down in Alabama. The Klan is outside with the police, who's the Klan too, in the street saying, you ends better not come out here. People in the church ain't got no guns. They may have one or two from the deacons and the other brothers up in there, but they're outside against hundreds of Klan folks with guns and stuff. And then those preachers would go into, ain't gonna let nobody turn me round, turn me round, turn me round, ain't gonna let nobody turn me round. And they'd put that music in the soul of the people. And then once they get them up, they go like, before I'll be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. Before you know it, 200 black folks walking out that church with no guns, up against all them guns. You know what them other folks do? Move the hell out of the way because they can't figure out what is the power of that.
Damn.
What happened in that church?
Yeah.
Black music touching the soul and the heart and the mind of the black masses that say, ain't gonna let nobody turn me round, turn me round. And it didn't. Our people were so courageous, it makes me tremble right now just to think of it. These weren't no Panther Party members. These weren't no Nation of Islam members. These were mama, daddy, uncle, and aunties who just went to church on Sundays.
Yeah.
But the power of music gave them the courage. Face down the Klan, the police, the whatever these things were.
Yo, that was touching.
Something about the power of music, no matter who uses it.
That was touching. That story was touching. Yo, Professor, I'm loving your stories, man. I'm loving all of this, man.
Long enough, you learn a lot of stuff. You have a lot of experiences. And some of them don't mean nothing, like the man on the bus in the beginning. It would take almost a decade before I realized who the guy on the bus was. I'm not going to call out what organization, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, but the guy on the bus who said, we now together. He thought I was Marvin, gave me the big hug up and everything.
You can't say his name?
I don't know his name, but I'm talking about the organization.
Okay. Yeah,
all right.
People in the chat, y'all know what he's talking about. Y'all know
what I'm talking about.
Yeah, y'all know them YouTube folks. Y'all know what he's talking. Y'all know exactly what he's talking about.
We got some rules now we got to follow. We can't even call a spade, no matter how much sand's on it, you know?
Right. No, indeed.
But that's cool. We black folks, we got other way to say what we want to say and be heard in the way we want to be heard without saying what they can get an attitude with.
Indeed. Yeah, I was just watching a video the other day. Somebody because Kanye done started up a whole storm with people talking about streaming, and not just Kanye. A lot of artists are talking about streaming services now, and they was throwing up some old clips of Suge Knight. He was talking about starting, maybe he got it from Pac. He was talking about starting a black distribution network. Irv Gotti, you know what they actually say? I don't know if you know who Irv Gotti is, but Irv Gotti office got raided. Irv Gotti, from what I hear, Irv Gotti, Prince, and the chat could tell me, a guy named Prince J. I hope I'm saying his name right. And I think Dame Dash, all of them wanted to start this black distribution thing, and all of a sudden things started happening to all of them. So what I want to ask you, if there's a there's a history of, once you want to start a black distribution or once you want to be independent, things start happening to you or your family. How would you advise a brother in 2024 to move forward if he say, Professor, I want to move like this. I'm a millionaire. I got influence, but I'm afraid that the threats are going to come toward my family.
You gotta have an organization.
You say that again?
You have to have an organization. You gotta secretly organize and mobilize.
Okay.
You have to secretly organize, and that's what I was telling Pac that day. You gotta secretly organize and mobilize. And because you're talking about billions and billions of dollars.
Right.
Every year.
Right.
Going into somebody's pocket.
Right.
Basically off of you telling your emotional, spiritual, and psychic story to the world in music. Okay. Because that's what music is. Music is storytelling.
Right.
Okay? Music is drama. And so you're expressing your drama, you're telling your stories, but you're using your natural, God-given, earth-based rhythm to do it. And ain't nobody else can do that like you can do that.
Right.
And it affects everybody. White folks hear your music. They may not be the dance, but they be moving a little different than we do, but they're trying to find that vibration that you let out because it attracts them. We just fall into it. It's like, you ever see a black baby could be 2 days old, play some music and see what happens. They stop making it because it's in there. The connect is clear. So when you got that clear a connection to the organism, the human organism, and the sounds and vibration coming from another human organism, then you can use it to affect that community of people, good or bad. And when you control the distribution of it, which is the instrument that makes money off of it, then you can control the lyrics that the artist sent forth. You can control the intensity of any sound. You control what gets marketed.
Right.
So an artist can't even bring positive music to his own people if they want to. Because the market won't allow it. Well, I got a call 2 years ago. You ever heard a brother named Burna Boy?
Yeah, everybody know Burna Boy. Yeah, he hot. Nigerian artist. He burning
so
up the
Burna Boy to publish the piece him and I did together.
Oh, that's what's up. That's what's up.
See, you sitting there saying, what you talking about, small? Right? That's what you're saying, right?
No, I ain't saying that. But
Burna Boy cut a piece on one of my lectures. It's a lecture I did on the Berlin Conference. You probably seen it with me at the blackboard talking about how Europe invaded Africa.
Yeah.
Well, he took that piece and took my entire dialogue and put music to it.
That's dope.
And he intersects between each of my little few seconds talk. The shit is bad. Wow. He sent me a copy. I made an agreement. I won't let nobody else hear it. I think I did let my son hear it, but I won't let anybody hear it, and I will wipe it out. I'm sorry I wiped it out now, but I had to stay with my dignity and principle, because I promised I would do that. And it was supposed to be on the last album, but somebody nixed it. And I spoke to his lawyer and said, well, what's up? And he said, well, they decided they want to put it out with this album. They may bring it out as a single. Somebody looked at that shit and said, okay, I don't know. You're not putting Small out there with that stuff. With you and him together. Damn. So, Burna, if you ever see this interview or your lawyer see this interview, put the piece out. Let the people hear it. Because I'm dropping some secret science and some heavy science. That's when I didn't have no gray beard yet. I was like young. That energy was like bang, coming out of my mouth and stuff. I mean, I'm a scientist, but then I was super young scientist.
Yeah.
And when he matched that with his skills as a musician, with that Afro beat up in it, this piece is, I'm telling you, I knew this was gonna be the #1 record on the label.
Damn.
On that album.
So, somebody got rid of it.
Burner, y'all put it out there.
You heard that? He gonna hear this. He gonna hear this. He gonna hear
life is to have no fear. You know, Kupitet Bule Kai, like Dessalines says, you know.
Yeah.
We got to just do what we gotta do.
He got a revolutionary spirit. I like Burna Boy. He got a revolutionary spirit.
I love that young brother. He's just been on it. He has been on it. I love his mom. I saw her spirit when she took that award for him last year.
Yeah.
So, you know, he come from a solid family of conscious African peoples. He should get more play in America than he's getting, because his music is sweet to the African soul, wherever the African is, you know.
Let me ask you this, Professor. You know, I'm an 80s baby. I wasn't around in the 70s and the 60s, you know, while a lot of things was going on and transpiring in America. From what I hear, some people say is that during the inception of rap, when it first got introduced, a lot of the older Black people at that time were hating on it, and they didn't believe in it. And people of other cultures were willing to invest in it because the Black people who had money thought it was some foolishness at the time.
I think that's mythology. This was coming out of the Black community. It was coming from their children. Now you can get down to maybe a handful of people in the music industry and in the rhythm and blues industry that may not invest in them. But you know, Black folks was loving rap and making rap and hip hop what it was long before white folks even know it was being done. It was the Black community loving it. And it didn't. I love Kool Herc and the whole mythology around that and how 2 turntables at the park in the Bronx, but that's not where this all started. You got brothers who kicking this back in the 40s.
Right.
You got brothers kicking this back in the 50s.
Right.
I know brothers like Jerome Ford and Onion. They didn't have no turntable because they didn't have no mixing board. But Onion was on the snare drums, and Jerome was on the one table spinning and talking over the records. But you mean it only got to be rap when you had a second turntable? Come on now. They talk about history will erase the mystery. Let's say the brothers Herc and them, they took it to another level. I'll agree with that. But you didn't invent that. You didn't create that. That was the music. Somebody put a piece on the internet on this group of 4 brothers. It's in the 40s, and he's dropping his signs. I go like, damn, he's just rapping his stuff off. But they're dressed in the suits and ties, and you know, they got their hair a little straightened out with some concholine in it, but they're still dropping the rap.
Right.
It's the musical gender that has always been with us. It just has advanced itself, and especially in the 70s and 80s, because some very serious things had happened in our community at that point in history, where the Black Panther Party had been decimated and killed and shot up and thrown in prison. Malcolm had been assassinated. Dr. King had been assassinated. And they started taking the music out of all of our schools in our community. They disbanded the drum and bugle corps that was parading in our community every week. They did all of these things to murder us, to cut off the communication between us about what we were doing to resist white tyranny and genocide. And the spirit, the African spirit, says we don't need any instrument to make music. Okay, you can make music with your tongue and your throat, and it'll be as powerful as anything they can make with an orchestra. And
beatboxing.
You know.
Yeah. Bismarck. You remember Bismarck?
Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah. And the white community was the one laughing at it.
Okay.
And now you can't see a commercial without it.
Yeah. Okay.
So, no, our people. There were some of our people who, because remember we didn't have that many people with money to invest in the music industry to start with. So that's a myth. We had very few people who invested in the music industry because we didn't have that kind of fluid capital. In the 1970s that we got now with these millionaires and billionaires. We didn't have that then. This is something that has come about in the last 30 years, you know? And so our people was like just trying to survive. The youth has always been the vanguard that initiate any new movement, all right? The youth has always been the vanguard in every civilization, every time in history and in every culture. Okay. And so what they've tried to do with hip hop is to separate the black youth from the black people.
Mm-hmm. And from the elders, especially, right?
Well, that's what I mean. From the elders and the fathers, when they realize that our youth, even without the tools that people have to strike out, you've just destroyed the Panther. You didn't destroy the Panther, but you decimated them. You decimated Black Liberation Army. You decimated international commanders. You decimated your Hutu fighters. Because there was other fronts out there fighting too. Without that wasn't the Black Panther Party. That people don't know their names, but we were up against the same forces, and so the community needed something. This is before you introduce the concept of gangs in the same way you're trying to do it now in Haiti, right? You give the kids the guns and then call them gangs when they start using it, and then you come in our community to clean it up and kill our youth and throw them in prison. After you skip all the dope in there that your CIA brings in the country through Bill, I'm not gonna call his name, through Arkansas. We'll leave it there. All right. And what the early rappers before that concept, which I heard this one European man, I'm not gonna say what ethnic group he's from, who was big in the rap industry, said that he created gangster rap. This is not a black man. He takes credit. He's bold about it. He's from another ethnic group that had big footprints in the music industry. He said he created gangster rap, meaning he took the music, that beautiful music, and put it in a negative genre, have it negatively influence black youth. And he did it deliberately and still made money.
What's your thoughts? Have you ever had conversation with any of the so-called gangster rappers, Ice Cube or what? Not Ice Cube. What's his name? Dr. Dre or Snoop or any of them? Have you ever
not directly, but 2 years ago I was in a conference with about 200 of the rappers, everybody, and a sister, Al Michelle, got me involved because they were talking about it. Snoop and everybody was involved. Starting a union, a rappers union.
Suge Knight was talking about that. That's the video I seen. Suge Knight was, yeah.
Well, Suge wasn't involved in this piece. This is last year.
Okay, yeah.
But somebody that seems to mix it. Everybody was there. This was Curtis Blow called us together. And so everybody was there. Everybody that's anybody was there. We had a two Zoom piece with more than 200 of the rappers on each occasion. And that gave me a chance to express myself and talk to them about the things I'm talking about now. I think that's why I first told people about that meeting, phone call with me and Tupac. That's how it got out. It was in that gathering.
Okay.
But many of the brothers understand. They understood they were taken for a ride. We were talking about this for a couple of hours. They understood. But when they were youngsters, they didn't understand that. But these are mature men now, businessmen now. Many of them have lost, but many of them have survived with their skills because they're writers, they're producers, they're directors in this industry. But the move they wanted to make last year to create a rappers union, and I remember there was a couple of dudes who weren't rappers, but were slick, fast-talking Negro collaborators, I call them, because I can smell them. I come from the black movement. I know when the man got his man in the house. And I remember that night when they cut me off and cut me short because they were like, you ain't gonna let this nigga get say too much of this. Right. And these slick talking legal talkers, and then everything just, because if the rappers union were to come together, it'll be the biggest union in the world. That's the richest and most powerful. And it can take care of its people in retirement and insurance and other things and bury them in there. But somebody has stopped the roll. And for those who hear this show, y'all need to get it rolling again.
Yeah. Do you the genre of rap? It seems as though with our music, genres come and then they die down. Do you see that happen? Like jazz isn't as a lot of our people don't even know we invented jazz.
Right, because jazz has been made too expensive by the same industry.
Explain that. What do you mean by that?
Jazz involved having at least a small orchestra, a small band. Multiple people must get paid. Right? Instrument must be moved around. how many black community clubs could afford that? What used to happen, jazz artists who were playing downtown in the white communities would then come uptown on Saturday night when they were done in the white community. That's why jazz clubs is always happening after midnight. You know? And so jazz is just as much akin to hip hop as is rhythm and blues. But if you would see, if we would go back to the day of jazz, that was hip hop for their day.
Right.
They couldn't say what me and you or your generation was saying, right? With words. They took an instrument and said the same thing.
With the instrument.
With feelings. Okay.
Yeah.
Because you was worrying about the Klan then and this and that. So you couldn't say with words that your generation could say with words. So they said it with a guitar. They could tell a story with a guitar. They could tell a story with a saxophone. They can tell a story with a trombone. Okay. And you could hear the words and the vibration because you're an African. You understand language and sound.
Yeah,
right?
It's powerful.
It's normal. No matter how long we've been away from home.
Yeah.
Somebody speaks Yoruba to you on the horn, you hear it. You can't interpret it in language, but you interpret it in spirit. That's rapping with a horn. Okay? And so we have to just understand that there is a continuity from the music we're singing when we come from Africa on that ship, the music we're singing in the fields when we work, the music we're singing when we get in the urban community like in New Orleans that evolve into jazz, the music we're singing that goes into the church as spiritual, that music that came out of the fields that we used to call work songs that became blues. See, it was work songs in the day in the field, but at night when we went to a little roadside club, it became blues. Because I'm in a situation where my baby done left me. I've been working in that field all day because this other brother who ain't got a job done slid on up in there. And so I'm telling that story with a song, you know. But it wasn't just my story I was telling, right? I was telling the story of a lot of other brothers who was working in that field, you know, and that bonded us together. Rag music was our music that slipped into bebop,
right?
You know, and then slipped from bebop into a higher form of jazz that slipped into rhythm and blues, and then soul, and then rap. But it's the same music. It's just different genders of the same music telling the same story of the same people at a different time in history and different locations in history. Because rap is basically an urban music, an urban expression of the music. It will become rural after a while, but it starts out heavily as an urban music. Jazz started out as an urban music, but blues is a rural music, you know. Rag is like really what we would call super ghetto music. When we first started coming to these big cities and we were poor and ragged and beat down, you know, that's what rag, the song we were making and the rhythm we expressing, we called it rag. And so, and when we started getting to where we can get to downtown and to downtown New York and Chinatown and involving the socialist movement and mixing with white folks, then we came up with bebop. You know what I'm saying? Because we now out here with these white folks, equal, you know.
Right.
So every one of our music represented a period of time that we were expressing ourselves politically, socially, culturally, and economically in a certain kind of way. And with each time, all of our music, in one sense, is a protest music. But at the same time, it is a protest music that can inspire. And what they tried to do with rap at the end, but it didn't work with gangster rap, was to keep us from having that inspiration in the 70s and 80s that they thought they had killed when they killed Dr. King, and then they killed Malcolm X, and they killed these brothers and sisters in the Panther Party and Black Liberation Army. They thought they had killed something, and it got reborn as rap. The rappers were the Black Panthers. You understand? They were the new Black Panthers. That they didn't have no guns and black beret. They had their voice and their attitude. What is it? NWA?
Yeah, NWA.
That's the Black Panther Party. It's just that they ain't got no rifles now. But they got the attitude. And with music, they can make a kid feel the same way the Black Panther Party made him feel towards a system that's oppressing them. That's the power of music.
Yeah. No. That's super powerful. Before we get out of here, Professor Smalls, because I told you I didn't want to keep you more than an hour. I want to thank everybody for donating to your Cash App. The last show we did.
Oh, I really want to thank people. That was a needed time, and to all my brothers and sisters on Black Magic, thank you, love you. You really helped the brother out because they really was. I didn't even realize how many medical bills till they started popping up in here, right? Like $1,000 for this, $1,000 for $2,000, and insurance is only taking a small piece of that because I just finally got insurance about a month ago. But I really, really thank the brothers and sisters. You were very generous. It was really useful. It came at the right time. I was always someone who said no to money and turn to money, no matter how broke I was. But that time I wasn't saying no because I really, really needed that boost. And I love y'all. Bottom line, we're talking about music. We're talking about Tupac. Let's come back to Tupac as we move towards closing. He was just a young Black baby, man. He was just one of our babies that they murdered. Just like they murdered Nat Turner. Just like they murdered Dr. King. So you can't compare Tupac to Dr. King. Why not? Dr. King was a messenger. Tupac was a messenger. The vehicle in which they brought the message was different, but listen to the message. And I bet you're going to find a lot of sameness in the message. Malcolm X was a messenger. Tupac was a messenger. Messenger, and this Tupac couldn't be a Malcolm. There was no Nation of Islam for him to say what he was stealing. He came out of the belly of Afeni Shakur. She was a revolutionary activist in the Black Panther Party and Black Liberation Army. He's a Shakur. Raised by Matula Shakur, the head of the Black Liberation Army. Godfather by Sekou Odinga, the founder, one of the founders of the Black Liberation Army. Come on. Y'all don't know who Tupac was and what he came out of. Yeah, he went to classical music school. He wasn't just some dude saying yada, yada, yada. He understood music. He could write music and read music, But we invented music. So even when we didn't read it and write it, we didn't have to because we invented music, And the average jazz piece, if we look at the average European composition, they're dealing with what? 3-4 bars. The average jazz composition, you may be 14, 15. They can't get up there.
Complex.
Compound complex. Right? So, but he was a young messenger and made mistakes. Of course he made mistakes. He didn't have nobody out there guiding him that really knew how to guide him through the political arena, through the economic arena. He did not truly understand. He knew it because he talked about it in his music. He talked about it in his poetry. He understood colonialism, imperialism, capitalism, and oppression because he told you about him. Listen to his words. Don't just be emotional about him. Listen to the poetry that is his music. And then you'll know who killed him because he tell you who we're up against. He tell you who's trying to destroy us. He tell you who we fighting. He tell you why we need to fight them. They did not like that. Okay? They did not like that. Michael came back here after having been away for a while in the Arab world, protected by his brothers. And he said, they don't care nothing about us. But he didn't just say it in a word. He made it into music.
Song, yeah. Made a
and he was about to take it across the world.
Yeah.
I was gone. Study Prince. What was Prince's life was? What was Prince doing around distribution, controlling his masters at the time his life ended? And then you have to ask yourself a fundamental question. Who is responsible for all of this carnage that has taken place to young black performing artists over these decades? And you're going to find the same people. You don't have to go through now. You don't even have to believe me. Just Google it. Ask the right question on Google. The Google is a worldwide library.
Yeah.
Got everybody's information up in there.
Oh, yeah.
Ask the question you want. Who would want to kill Tupac over distribution? Just ask the question. I guarantee you Google going to give you an answer. What the probabilities and the possibilities are, given who's in control of what. then ask the question, who controls distribution? Just ask it. Google it. I did it tonight a few times and see what the answer you're going to get. Mm-hmm. A lot of praiseworthy names. But see the answer you're going to get. You know, look up the Columbia study done by Harvard Business School in 1972 when they recommend this is because you don't have to get them in 25-year contracts. And it wasn't just about the music. It was about how to manipulate the environment of soul music. They were clear they wanted to control Black people. Okay. And so we just kind of...
Professor, what was your opinion on Soul Train? Remember Soul Train? What's your take on that and the effectiveness of dance along with music?
Magnificent phenomena that brother pulled off, but they made him suffer too. You know, he suffered. That same industry made him suffer too. But he was a stand-up fighting brother. He fought to keep that piece going. But it was an opportunity to see Africa every, what was it, Saturday or Sunday?
Saturday. I think it was Saturday.
Saturday. You go to Africa. Them brothers and sisters had moves, man. Yeah. I mean, they had moves, you know? Wow. And everybody, you get out there in your living room trying to imitate those moves. So when you hang out that night, you can perform some of those moves. But if it was move, it got a chance to expose our music and watch the evolution of our music. Because music transformed the human soul. Music transforms the human mind, either positive or negatively, depending on what music you're feeding to it.
Right.
And those who control the industry know what to feed into the minds of the youth of the world. Problem is, so much of what they're doing that once negatively affect our youth is now negatively affecting their youth with this drug epidemic we have in America and the world today, which is sad to see any child dying from any kind of drugs. Our people have been forced to do it and endure it for so many centuries, really, but definitely for this last century. And now it's out of hand, and everybody's children is suffering right now. Everybody's family is going to funerals right now. From ODs and ODs. And you're still manipulating the mind of those young people, taking away their hope, taking away their future using music so that you can control the marketplace of who will be able to compete against you to control capital in the world. Because it all comes down to politics at the end of the day. Economic, politics, and culture. Culture is the music they use to control you so you do not overtake them in the economic or political arena. You heard that, right? You understand that. Is that clear enough for you?
Oh, yeah.
Economic, politics, and culture. You use the culture to control, to keep you from overtaking them in the political and economic arenas. The control of your culture, you can capture your politics, and you can know where and how to use your economics. Because we got money. We're not broke. We're not impoverished. We spent almost $2 trillion last year, but we spent it in the wrong place with the wrong people for the wrong things. Culture influenced how you spent that money. Music is the biggest influencer in culture.
So music is at the top then of all of this, Professor. It's at the top.
Brainwashing, music is the Clorox.
Woo! So the Clorox. Damn, Professor, you was on fire all night tonight, brother. I could tell you was passionate about this topic. I'm glad I called you. You've been on fire for hours straight.
Thinking about you. You know, I was actually thinking about you all week. I said, dang. And then when you call, I go like, he heard me. He picked up.
The telepathy, you know. I felt your energy, Professor, but I knew I want to get you on before you because I know King Simon.
Yeah, we gotta you need to throw that Atlanta piece up there one more time.
Yeah, real quick, let's put this up here before we end the show real quick, family. Let me let y'all know, for those who are in the Atlanta area.
The legendary Professor James Smalls come to Atlanta, Georgia for 2 days. April 6th and April 7th. You don't want to miss it. He's doing a public and a private event. Text me right now at 347-496-1022. That's 347-496-1022. The legendary Professor James Smalls, as you've seen him on Hidden Colors and all the rest of the documentaries. Make sure you go to my Linktree at Linktree/King Simon the Numerator. Professor James Smalls in Atlanta, April 6th and April 7th.
All right. All right. Yeah, somebody wrote for brainwashing, music is the Clorox.
Brainwashing, music is the Clorox.
Yo, where's that? Hold up. Where's King Sam family? Professor went on for an hour straight. Make sure you hit up this brother. And I want to thank y'all for supporting this brother. I gave, a lot of y'all gave. Hit the brother's Cash App up if you could continue to support the brother. The brother had a big surgery, took him out of commission for a long time, and the donations that he received from this channel came in big time. As you just said, insurance.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah. So thank you to everybody who donated to our elder. We got to appreciate and take care of our elders while they are here with us, giving us this wisdom and gems that he gave during the show today, telling us stories that I've never heard before, you'll never heard before, and that we can learn from. So I want to thank you, Professor, once again for coming on the show and talking about private conversations with Pac and other people, and just teaching us the game, how this game go out here. Anything you want to tell the people before we get out of here, Professor?
That we need to love up on Haiti right now. We need to write our elected officials, text our elected, tell them hands off of Haiti. Do not send any troops into Haiti against our people. Don't believe the lie about the gangs. All right, that's their mythology. They ran the same kind of games on us when they wanted to roll in with the cops and throw us in prison, or they're a bunch of gangs with the Crips and the Bloods killing everybody in the black community. And they're doing that same thing with Haiti. You can drive from Port-au-Prince 10 minutes, 15 minutes down the road to Pétionville, and you won't know you're in Haiti. You hear me? You think you're down in Times Square, okay? So why don't they show Pétionville? Why don't they show some of the other beautiful parts of Haiti? But none of this is happening. They just centered on 2 streets in Port-au-Prince that have been in rubble since the earthquake, because they stole the $30 billion that was sent to rebuild the city. But I can't call the name of the thieves. But everybody know who the thieves were. Just go to what is it called? Ezele Danto's channel with just look up Haiti. My brain is tired right now. But just go into Haiti, you see who stole the money. But the people with the guns, remember, there's no factory making guns in Haiti. And the people with the guns are poor kids in the streets. They have no money to buy no guns. So beg the question, who gave them the guns? They have no money to buy guns. No guns is made in the country. Who gave them the guns? And then now call them gangs. It's like that story that were raping. And I'm sure some of them are gangsters and crooks, because that's all they could be given the situation and circumstances that the core group have put them under. And I will call their name, because they are governments. And there is a core group. But no, I'm not going to do that either, because they may come messing with you. I don't want them messing with Brother Rich. But anybody can look up the core group and see who are the nations that are controlling Haiti. And I'll just leave with this last piece. Haiti's got uridium, one of the most important metal in the world, 50 grand per ounce, right? It has the largest oil reserve in the Caribbean, which they're not allowed to drill for. It has a natural gas reserve, which America won't allow them to drill for. Haiti has gold that's being mined by these core group countries. Haiti has, copper being mined by these companies, and on and on. These people are not poor. Haiti is one of the richest resource countries in the Caribbean. Why won't these people leave them alone to build their own countries? Why not go and do the study, see how many of Haiti's president was assassinated? Not just the one in your lifetime, they assassinated others. America invaded Haiti in 1915, stayed there with the Marines occupied until 1934, stole the Haiti's gold reserve using Citibank to do it. This is part of records. Citibank can't hide from this. Citibank was in charge of it, brought in by the government to be in charge of the Haitian bank. They take all the Haitian gold and bring it to New York, and have never returned it. Give me a break. You know what I'm saying? So let's love up on Haiti, study Haitian modern history, see what's really going on. Don't buy the hype. The same people that dogged us out in the media, calling us gangsters and all of this stuff, is the same people that's dogging out the Haitian people. Love up on your brothers and sisters, because Haiti and you're the same people. One just live a little bit that way, and the other one live a little bit this way. Right? Move the distance, and I'm on that island, and they're in New York. Simple as that.
I want to thank you once again, Professor, for coming on the show. Absolutely amazing show. Instant classic, family. Make sure y'all share this with someone you love because everybody needs to see this show.
And buy the books I told you. Buy those books.
Yeah, definitely get the books. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I appreciate it. I'll be back Wednesday. Won't be on tomorrow. I will be back Wednesday. With that being said, we getting out of here. Signing out. See you next time. Thank you, Professor. Peace.
Peace and blessings.
All right.